Well, the Super Bowl has come and gone, which means it's time to talk about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys yet again. Last offseason, the Cowboys used the franchise tag to retain Prescott rather than offering him a long-term contract extension. Reports now surfacing that Dallas will use the tag on Prescott once again in 2021 if they cannot reach a deal with the 27-year-old. Let's welcome in our Jason Canfora to break this all down. Prescott, clearly the big name we're keeping an eye on, JLC. How do you think this plays out this year?
Well, this has been in the cards since the middle of July of last year when they were unable to get a long-term deal done by the deadline by which to do so. This was always setting up for a second tag. Whether Dak had an amazing season, whether Dak had even a bad season, or in the case of reality, almost no season, the Cowboys were all in on this quarterback. They had a ton of money on the table last year, but weren't able to come to terms on how exactly it should be spread out. And Dak did not want the ability for the Cowboys to franchise him ever again. He wanted that language in the contract. The team didn't want to set that precedent. Now they're back at the negotiating table, or at least they will be soon enough, but it always was going to start with a second tag. Now he's locked in at around $38 million a season for next year, and they will try to hammer out a long-term deal by July. I suspect they do, and I suspect it's north of $40 million a year when they do get around to figuring it out.
Do you think the Cowboys come out right on Tuesday, or do they slow play this until March 9th?
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of advantage for really any of these teams, running out there this week and slapping a tag on somebody. We don't know what the cap is yet. This is a very unusual season, an off season, still in a pandemic. And even if there weren't those other factors, if you're the Cowboys, maybe you use these 2 weeks to try to at least have some overtures towards getting a long-term deal done, rather than immediately putting the tag on him. Regardless, it's just a paper transaction. I mean, the reality is he is going to be tagged, whether they do it the moment that they first possibly can or right before the window closes in March. It's not lost on any of these parties where this thing is headed.
All right, let's move on to the defending champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a decision to make with tag options on both sides of the ball. So is it Chris Godwin, Shaq Barrett, or neither? What do you think?
I think if they do use the tag, it would be on Shaq Barrett. Pass rush is at such a premium. We saw them just win a Super Bowl by having that sort of a elusive formula of, yeah, everything Tom Brady did is great, but when you can dominate a game with 4 men up front and your 4 can beat their 5 or beat their 6, that math's going to work in your favor and go a long way. And obviously, Shaq Barrett's a big part of what they do on their defensive line. He gets a lot of pressure. There aren't a lot of guys who you could look at on the open market and say, oh, that guy's an upgrade or that guy's a replacement. And even in some of those instances, boy, are they even going to hit the market anyway, because you're going to see a lot of defensive ends and outside linebackers, edge guys, I think, end up getting the tag. Tampa doesn't have the greatest situation in the world when it comes to cap, but where there's a will, there's a way. I would not be surprised if they tag Shaq Barrett for a second time in a row.
Speaking of that second time in a row, we're going to move over to Denver and Justin Simmons. He's looking at being tagged for the second straight season. Tagging a player like that doesn't typically happen often. Where's this one heading? What are your thoughts?
It's probably a second tag as well. Denver doesn't have a whole lot of its own players that are emerging talents who need to get extended. Simmons obviously is one. He sticks out from the pack. He's a big part of what Vic Fangio wants to do defensively. They could be shedding some salary with the Von Miller, gone, whether they pick up the option and trade him or they just let him walk. Either way, that's a cash savings that can be put into other players. Safeties, compared to a lot of other positions, the tag isn't as high. So, the second time around doesn't come at quite the cost it would at some other positions, and he's a key core player for them.
Yeah, in the last decade, only 5 safeties have been franchise tagged. So we have Simmons, the Rams, John Johnson, the Jets, Marcus May, New Orleans, Marcus Williams. They're all candidates. So do you think all these players get tagged?
I don't. The Rams and the Saints are really in a cap crunch. They have significant salary cap and cash issues to figure out just to be able to get under the cap in general. Obviously, the move that the Rams made there, most recently, getting Matthew Stafford, boy, that handcuffs them a little bit more, especially in the near term, taking the hit on Goff that they took to get him out of there. So that would surprise me. The Saints, it's probably a luxury for them as well. And the Jets, really, when you're as bad as they've been, when you have that much payroll maneuverability and you have such a small cap in terms of money dedicated to your current players, you really shouldn't be using a franchise tag. These are players, core guys. You should get extended, pay them top of the market money, right? They traded Jamal Adams. They didn't want to make that investment. I would have to think that May ends up with a long-term deal. The Jets don't have too many other mouths to feed. He's a key player for them. They don't have a whole lot of talent on defense. And at some point in a new regime, you've got to pay some of your own players.
Well, these NFL teams can retain the rights to impending free agents starting tomorrow all the way through March 9th. JLC, thank you so much. If you're looking for your daily fix of NFL news and analysis, you got to look no further than the Pick 6 podcast. Will Brinson, our CBS Sports analyst, gets you up to speed each day in about 30 minutes with the trending world of the NFL. So tune in and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.